Yes. Good morning, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and our valued TV Energy viewers. Let us introduce our distinguished speakers, Mr. Yorgos Katragalos, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Greece. Welcome to dear Katragalos, our conference.
Good morning. Many thanks for the invitation.
And Mr. Andreas Mavroyiannis is former Greek Cypriot negotiator. Welcome to our conference, dear Mavroyiannis.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation. Looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you. And Mr. Ergün Olgun, former Turkish Cypriot negotiator, and he will he will come to a few minutes later. He added us and retired ambassador, dear Anil Trigoniad. Welcome to our conference, dear Trigoniad. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. It's an honor and privilege for me to be part of this forum, and thank you for your very kind invitation.
Yes, and I would like to start the openly speech about the fourth Eastern Mediterranean Conference. Also, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to fourth Eastern Mediterranean Energy Conference. This conference brings together policymakers, academics, industry representatives, and experts to exchange views on energy developments in region of strategic and economic importance. At a time when energy security, stability, and regional cooperation are more important than ever, the dialogue and mutual understanding are essential. We believe that constructive cooperation and shared solution can contribute to stability, economic growth, and sustainability energy future of all. I wish this conference fruitful discussions, valuable insights, and successful outcomes. Thank you for your participation, and I hope the conference will be beneficial for all involved. And first of all, we will begin with dear Mr. Katagalos. Welcome to again, dear Katagalos.
Many thanks again for the invitation. I'm very glad to participate in this important event. I consider of paramount importance people, diplomats, former diplomats, academics from Greece, Turkey, Cyprus, to discuss exactly because only through dialogue we can reach mutually beneficial agreements. And even before the agreements, it is very important to have a culture of understanding between our countries. It is important and interesting that despite the tensions that exist, polls show that Greeks and Turkish people do not look each other as fundamentally alien or enemy. Huge majorities in all countries show that there is a vivid preference for peace, dialogue, and try to find solutions to the problems we have. Energy is, of course, among these problems that we must discuss. There is a paradox around energy. It can be either a catalyst for regional integration or a spark for bilateral friction. There is another paradox connected to the conjecture. It is about oil, fossils. We do not know if we're going to have enough time to exploit eventual resources. Because, as you know, the United Nations have set a very ambitious goal regarding defossilization. And even the political conjuncture is very much influential on the outcomes of energy cooperation. For instance, now Greece is discussing the creation of a vertical corridor. This is going to have commercial interest only if the war in Ukraine continues. I sincerely hope that it is not going to be the case. The Ukrainian war must end with an agreement, of course, in conformity with international law. Anyway, the energy landscape in the Eastern Mediterranean has evolved into a very complex geopolitical puzzle. You know that from the beginning, Turkey and Greece had adopted different strategies. Greece has always opted for an agreement to go to the International Court of Hague in order to delimit our economic zones in sea. That was initially an agreement between Prime Minister Karamanlis and Prime Minister Demirel. But then Turkey has reconsidered, and he has since then, since 1975, a different approach based on the necessity to have a joint exploitation of the natural resources. Of course, the core of the issue is political, but there is also an important legal background of it, related to how we interpret the UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Sea. In Greece, we believe that we should follow its premises, and it is clear for the UNCLOS that the islands have a continental shelf. The different approach of Turkey, the doctrine of the blue homeland, on the contrary, seems to limit this influence of the maritime influence of the islands in favor of a mainland-centric approach. And this approach of Turkey has very sharply been illustrated by the 2019 Turkey-Libya Memorandum of Arrangement, which is another area of friction with Greece. When I have been Minister of Foreign Affairs during the Tsipras government, Greek diplomacy has tried to balance our firm legal stance of support of UNCLOS with proactive regional trilateral schemes of cooperation involving, in all the cases, Cyprus. So we have trilateral with Israel, but also with Palestine, with Lebanon, practically with Egypt, practically with all the countries of the area. The most, let's say, exemplary trilateral was the one with Cyprus and Israel, which, with the strategic participation of the United States, concluded in an agreement to have a very ambitious project, the Eastmed pipeline. I understand that in Turkey, these trilateral schemes have been seen as an effort to isolate the country. Exactly in order to show that this is not the case, the immediate next day after the signature of the Eastmed pipeline between the leaders of the three countries and Secretary of State Pompeo, I visited to Antalya to meet with my friend Mevlut Çavuşoğlu with a very clear message that we want Turkey in the equation of the Eastmed energy, provided that our cooperation will be based in international. And we had open channels of communication with Ankara. We had mutual exchange of visits of President Erdogan, Tsipras, in order to prevent accidental escalations. So this period underscored a clear doctrine. Energy should not be a casus belli, but an invitation for regional stability. Since this time, we had periods of tension, especially 2020, and now we have a period of relative calmness in the bilateral relations, however, without any kind of breakthrough in our negotiations. The shift now is towards not so much the Eastern Mediterranean, although there Greece and Cyprus have never abandoned their projects, but basically to Alexandroupoli and the so-called vertical corridor, that it is going to be a critical energy gateway for Europe. This is part of the plans of American projects to have a new, let's say, ways of energy. This can create a positive agenda with Turkey. Ultimately, the path to a sustainable future requires both nations to operate in full respect of international law and the law of the sea. Cyprus has already delimited most of its exclusive economic zone with the neighboring countries. There are some steps towards regional cooperation. For instance, the Eastmed gas forum. It is one of the only institutions, maybe the only, but anyway, one of the few institutions in the global scene in which both Palestine and Israel participate. I think participation of Turkey would be a positive step towards the necessary building of mutual understanding. We have, of course, still many points of tension. The Turkey-Libya Memorandum of Understanding remains a significant diplomatic hurdle. But I think that that would be also a point of negotiations for a juridical settlement in the International Court of Justice in Hague. Anyway, we should prioritize the legal understanding, a common legal understanding, but above all, a culture of dialogue. It is important not to have tension in the bilateral relations. It is also important not to be satisfied just with calm waters, but to have in mind that it is necessary to have a breakthrough. And I don't think that it is possible to have any other kind of breakthrough besides agreeing together to go at the International Court of Justice. So, to conclude, I think it's necessary to have de-escalation. Both nations benefit from a quiet Aegean. The path forward is a reinvigoration of the exploratory talks. We must have a legal certainty in our future cooperation. I believe that there's not other way than the International Court of Justice. And it is not a bilateral thing. We have Andreas with us. The Cyprus issue should also be resolved in accordance with international law. It is one of the most long-standing frozen conflicts in the global arena. In 2017, in Crans-Montana, we have been very close to an agreement with respect to the new understanding of the international legality that does not allow for having, let's say, protecting countries. This goes back to a colonial or a neo-colonial environment. I hope that ensuring a good spirit of cooperation, we will be able to have a breakthrough also at this very important issue. Many thanks for your attention.
Thank you, dear Gatragolos, enjoying our energy conference. I want to see in the conference again. I'm very happy to see in the conference. And thank you very much for joining our fourth Eastern Mediterranean online conference.
And I should apologize, dear Emre, because I have to leave. I had a prior commitment. I'm really sorry that I'm going to miss the other very, very respectable contributors.
Yeah, that's no problem. You know, we are all of them. We are busy. The agenda is busy. You know that. And thank you very much and for joining our online energy conference, dear Gatragalos. Yes, dear guest and especially valued from TV Energy viewers, we continue the energy conference. And the second speakers, dear retired ambassador, dear Anil Trigunaya. Dear Trigunaya, we continue with you.
Please, thank you. Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. It's a great pleasure for me to be part of this Eastmed Energy Forum, and I must compliment you for focusing on very important regional issues and perhaps the most important issue that drives all economies, that is energy, which has also been going through a tremendous transition phase as we are looking at from all angles. But let me just try to give it a broader perspective on when we talk of peace. We have to also look at what are the conflicts around. In my view, today, the world is driven by basically four contestations, which I call as 4Gs. The geopolitics, geoeconomics, geo-religious, and geotechnological contestation. And the world has in recent times also been afflicted by four black swan events. People may argue, but I think that first was the pandemic, which really brought down the whole world to a reality that from a strongest to the weakest, poorest to the richest, all nations suffered, all people suffered. It underscored the necessity for international collaboration and global solidarity. SDGs for developing countries have been completely sidelined. The second is Russia-Ukraine war, which is continuing and which also clearly shows that despite being a superpower, it's impossible to win a war. You can wreak destruction anywhere. Americans did it in Afghanistan. Everybody goes to a war but doesn't get anywhere at the end of the day. And impacts are there because what we are looking at is there's weaponization of financial instruments, weaponization of food, fuel, and fertilizer. All these are impacting the world and mostly the global south. And the third one is the Middle East war, Israel-Gaza. I mean, that is having a great impact. It has expanded to Israel-Iran, which is also causing a major problem and instability in our region. So that is also something that we would like to look at. And now the fourth one, in my view, is the onset of President Trump, who has completely undermined the very edifice of international law or the rule-based order that the United States and the West themselves had charted. So the global crises are sort of a polycrisis at this moment. There are umpteen number of conflicts, a lot of them live, a few are frozen, and could continue to be like that and have a possibility of igniting these very quickly. We need to focus a great deal on dialogue, diplomacy, and development, for which peace is also very essential. There are problems. Can we resolve those problems through dialogue? Unfortunately, the global governance is in deep crisis. The institutions are not giving any hope to us that we could resort to any international organization where things could work. We are looking at minilaterals, multilaterals, plurilaterals, various organizations, countries are getting together and trying to work on it. Somehow find for a limited cause. India is the chair this year of the BRICS and also is a part of the Quad. So we try to we believe in strategic autonomy and multi-alignment. So irrespective of any country's problems, it is also important for countries to follow their own national interest. And that's what precisely we try to do. Now, Global South is something that has been impacted by each of the four events that I mentioned in a very disproportionate manner. I mean, that is something that the world has to consider and look at. It's also very important. As far as energy is concerned, currently I'm also on the board of a biggest Indian company, power company, which produces about 50% of the traditional power. But at the same time, as far as India is concerned, as you know, it is the fastest growing major economy in the world. This is also the fourth largest economy in the world. So for its engine of growth, it requires a resilient and sustained supply of energy, both the fossil fuels as well as the renewables. And therefore, we are also working very, very assiduously to reach a target of 500 gigawatt at least by 2030. And India has also committed at the climate change negotiations to be a zero carbon by 2070, or maybe earlier also. But there again, you are facing a very major challenge. One of the most polluting country in the world, United States, has walked out of this the second time, not the first time, Paris Agreement. They are taking drill, baby, drill. They're also talking about today, I mean, if Davos you were listening to, the energy minister who was there, they were saying, what is this going to the wind energy or any other sort of an energy? So I think that this is a problem of focus. Today, we are not focusing on climate change. It is existential. There is no planet B. But we are continuing to do the harakiri, and nations are following certain things, especially the most powerful ones, which is a lamentable fact in my view. Similarly, on the terrorism, we still follow double standards, hypocrisy, and that is something which requires a global solidarity. All of our countries have suffered from terrorism, yet we continue to adopt very different standards when it comes to others, which are being driven by myopic geopolitical interests. So I think that time has come, then we have to work together, in my view, the Asia, the Middle East, the Mediterranean, the countries that are like-minded must synergize and must work together for a mutual advantage, mutual benefit, mutual growth, for which, in my view, if we work sincerely and we look at it sincerely, while the world is going through a global churn, we should be able to find and identify areas where there are convergences. Divergences can be sorted out through dialogue and diplomacy. So thank you once again for inviting me, and it's been a great pleasure being with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, dear retired Ambassador Enel Triguniait. I would like to thank join our organization, our conference.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, dear audience and followers to test one of fourth energy conference, from online conference. We continue with dear Mr. Ergün Olgun is former Turkish Cypriot negotiator. Welcome to our online energy conference, dear Ergün Olgun.
Thank you. I suggest that Andreas goes first, if Andreas likes that.
Ergün, first of all, good morning and very nice to see you. It's a great pleasure. It has been some time we have not seen each other.
Thank you.
But your hands up to you, whatever you prefer. Emre, me and Ergün, we are very good friends. And we are always, always working together. So, but Ergün, for me, it's whatever you like. If you prefer I go first, I go first. It's fine.
Well, it's so nice to see you again, Andreas, and thank you for joining this program. I suggest that you go first, so that I can follow up on what you're going to say.
Okay, very well.
Okay. Can you begin, dear Andreas Mavroyiannis?
Of course. For me, whatever you tell me, you are as the British were saying in Cyprus during the colonial times, I am your obedient servant.
Yeah. We say astaghfirullah.
You were placing a request for something. You were receiving a letter by the governor, telling you your application is rejected. I remain, sir, your obedient servant. But Emre and Ergün, thank you very much. It's a great honor and a pleasure for me to join you today at this Eastmed Energy Forum.
Yeah.
It's, I believe, important to continue talking about those issues. And I heard with a lot of interest both the intervention of my friend Yorgos Katrougalos and of Ambassador Trikourian. It's if you like, two important perspectives we heard of. And in today's world, where everything seems more or less upended, upside down, and we need to find a way to grasp and to understand what is happening. But more so, I believe we need to be able together to chart the way forward. So because beyond what the previous speakers mentioned, for me, the most fundamental is to have a better understanding what is the role of energy today. And by this, I mean, what is the impact and the role of the various ways of producing and transporting energy. And we need to do this assessment fairly quickly because, for obvious reasons, in the Eastern Mediterranean, we have conflicts, we have divergences, we have, tensions about energy and about other reasons. But if we don't find the ways to and the threads of working together, most probably by the time we will be able to do something, it will be too late. Too late in the sense that fossil, oils, etc., will not be useful anymore. And then, something also which is of fundamental importance is what will eventually replace fossil fuels. And there you are seeing that year after year, there is fundamental changes in the sense that, there is the renewables, but beyond the renewables, we need to put into the equation at a very central place the coming back of nuclear energy. And there, it's not the traditional approach to nuclear energy we knew after the Second World War, with all the problems and the accidents, etc. We have those modular nuclear reactors and the new technologies which make the nuclear energy much more appealing and eventually less dangerous than anything else. I don't know. This, remains to be tested.
Yeah.
But it's a new equation. So what is the role today of fossil fuels? And more so, even when we talk about fossil fuels, there are some fundamental issues that are changing. There are the electrical interconnections. There are all the other things which change fundamentally what we were having in the past, where we were having, you extract the fossil fuel, then you need to send it throughout the world in order to produce electricity, or in order to use it in cars and trains and everything. Now, with the new developments, most probably what you are going to have the fuels being used in situ, where they are produced, where they are extracted, and then you are going to have the electricity traveling and not the oil, which will create a completely new situation at the end of the day. So, and with, all the electric vehicles and everything becoming different today, and renewables, etc. So you understand that maybe we are fighting about something which is not there anymore. So we need, in our approach, to be able to factor the changing world and the changing geopolitics of energy. So having said that, of course, this is not for today or tomorrow, it will take some years. But I think that more than ever, it is important for all of us to find the channels that will allow us to work together in synergy and cooperation in order exactly to take advantage of, the existing resources and the existing reserves in the Eastern Mediterranean and beyond, and also for preparing for the fundamental change that is on its way. Therefore, for me, if you like, we need to have, if you like, a kind of understanding about how do we create the new organic conditions for peace. And I say this thinking about what we had in Europe after the Second World War, where, if you like, we had the creation, of course, of the United Nations, there was the creation of the Council of Europe, but then there was this idea about uniting Europe around projects and eliminating the root causes of war. And the first thing that was done was the European Coal and Steel Community in 1950, the idea being that those two resources were used in the war. And we created this in order to pull together the production and everything and remove the causes of war, which was a fantastic idea. But by that time, coal and steel were not anymore so important. So a couple of years later, we created the European Atomic Energy Community, etc., etc. So the project was very successful because the logic was a logic of pooling, of working together. And we know that today, for instance, a war between France and Germany is unimaginable. But what matters and what is important for all of us is this idea of rather disputing in a traditional way about rights and whatever else we're talking about, and the rules-based international order, the conventions and everything, we need to factor all this into the equation with an approach that will allow us to work together, working together and pulling together the resources and putting together all our, if you like, know-how and our energy in order to have our role in the future of the area and of, the new, if you like, situation where new elements are involved with green energy, with renewables in general, or with whatever will happen in the atomic energy field, and all these interconnectors that will change the roots of the oil, if you like, fundamentally. And we already see that, Middle East was the center of the world when we were talking about energy. Can we say the same thing today? I don't think so. And this is why even the policies of Trump with Latin America, Venezuela, etc., though we are talking about traditional fossil fuels, they constitute already an important shift of the center of attention. So this is what I wanted to say, and I will finish by adding something about Cyprus, because for us, again, it is of utmost importance that beyond our divergences and our past, it is even more important right now to use this dimension, the energy dimension, and the new challenges, if you like, as factors that will create a culture of peace and a culture of, as I was mentioning a minute ago, creating the organic conditions for peace that will allow to create a win-win situation in Cyprus, in the broader Eastern Mediterranean, between Greece and Turkey, etc. And I believe that more than ever, we all understand that we are on the same boat. Thank you, Emre, thank you, Ergün. And of course, I'm with you myself. I'm not leaving if we can have time to discuss a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, me too, dear Andreas Mavroyiannis. Thank you very much for accepting our request and for joining the energy conference with online. I'm very happy to see you again in the conference. Thank you again, dear Mavroyiannis.
Thank you, Emre, and thank you, Andreas. It's so nice to hear you again, and I must say that I fully share the ideals that you have spelled out. It's so nice to have an intellectual talk, basically with you, Andreas. We have had previous discussions, but today I see that on the ideal side, we share the same values. You have talked about the need to work together, which is crucial, not only for us in Cyprus, but I think today for Europe, faced with the major challenges it's facing, not only its neighborhood, but globally, particularly coming now from the United States, which used to be our major ally, but challenges coming from there are also used to, challenges from there are becoming very critical. So I think I fully agree with you that we need to work together and take advantage of the, let's say, the major opportunities that are at our disposal at this particular time. I also agree with you that we like the start of the European Union. We have to look into the root causes of conflicts and eliminate them. Naturally, for this to happen, I mean, the ideal is there, but I think the critical part is how do we achieve this, and what are the practical steps that we have to take in order to realize the ideals, the objectives that you have pointed out. I think that's where I think we do have some problems. When it comes to detail, I don't think we are acting in line with the ideals that we have pointed out. Now, let me just be a little bit more specific about what I mean. I think, my topic is not energy. I mean, the request from me was to talk about the peace process. So basically, I will concentrate more on the needs for achieving peace, stability, and cooperation in Cyprus. And I continue with the ideals that you have pointed out. I think the ideals you spell out can be achieved through mutual respect. I mean, the key element in all this is respect for each other. And naturally, respect has to be based on the inherent rights and status of the parties involved in the process. I mean, this has happened in the case of following the Second World War, in the case of the European Union's processes. Germany, which was naturally defeated in the Second World War, but was respected as a state of its own with equal status with France and all the other European countries. I think the key here in Cyprus as well is for us to be able to understand that we have to respect the equal rights and status of the two parties in Cyprus. I think that's where the bottleneck lies, because the request of the Turkish Cypriots for respect of its equal rights and status is currently being not confirmed by our previous partner and possibly our future cooperation partner in the island of Cyprus. I do agree with you fully that this island is a small island. Europe is a small part of the global world. We all have to work together to achieve the objectives you have pointed out, Andreas. But I think we have to base this on mutual respect to each other. And we have to understand, as you say, that we are in the same boat. But being in the same boat does not mean that we treat each other as the opposite or the other. It means that we have to respect each other. So basically, coming to more specific terms, in the island of Cyprus, I think, which also reflects on the needs for cooperation on energy in the Eastern Mediterranean, we have to sort out the Cyprus issue. For Turkey and Greece to be able to work together better in cooperation. For Turkey's, the Europe today needs Turkey, and Turkey needs Europe more than ever before. That's my opinion. Faced with the challenges coming from different directions to Europe, the need of Europe for Turkey, for its own security, for its well-being, for its economic power, is more than ever before, but also the same applies for Turkey in terms of its needs for Europe, its values, and its need for them to work together to create the necessary synergy to achieve the, the objectives that we set out for ourselves. And this requires that we take out, as you pointed out, one of the root causes of this, friction that exists in Cyprus and exists between Turkey and Greece, exists between Turkey and the European Union, out of the equation for us to be able to move forward. And the answer to that is, as I pointed out, is for us to understand that we have to respect each other as equals with equal status in the island of Cyprus. The Greek Cypriots have an internationally recognized state. The equal status of the Turkish Cypriots as I fully agree that we have to be able to find a model for cooperation on the island. But where we are today, this cooperation can only be based on the fact that we have the two states on the island, the two de facto states on the island. which needs to be in a cooperative relationship with each other. That's why we have to respect each other's status where we are today. We will naturally respect the Greek Cypriot status as a state, but we expect the same thing from the Greek Cypriots, that we do that for ourselves. But then that will be the, let's say, the breaking point on which we can face our future relationship on the island as two equals. And that is essential. That cooperation is essential for both for the Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots, for their well-being, economic and safety well-being, and for Turkey and Greece, and for the European Union, and for cooperation in the Eastern Mediterranean. So basically, I think we have to rise to the opportunity. We have to understand the new needs and challenges that are facing us. And that is why there is need for revision in our previous outlook as regards our positions, the future of the island. And that transformation is essential for us to be able to move forward. And the key word is respect for each other's equal rights and status on the island. So I stop here, but it's so nice to speak to you, Andreas, and thank you for providing this opportunity to us, Emre, through TESPAM. Naturally, we can look forward to future discussions on this and how we can move forward. But as I say, ideally, I agree with you, all the ideals that you have set out, but the difficulty is getting there, realizing those ideals, and the key there is, as I said, mutual respect to our equal rights and status. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ergün Olgun, for your beneficial speech about the conference. And dear Mavroyiannis, can you give do you want to give any answer to dear Olgun?
You know, with Ergün, we have long discussions for more than 20 years.
Yeah.
We are talking, and of course, you know, we respect each other, and we are not expected, of course, to agree on everything. But we have what he was calling for in a broader context: mutual respect and mutual understanding, and an extraordinary personal relationship. So, but having said that, you know, where I believe we need somehow a shift of paradigm is in the sense that I was suggesting that we reverse, if you like, the logic, and we don't start by saying, okay, all this is okay, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. But in the future, and when we solve our problems, we will start cooperation. What I'm pleading for is that through doing things together, as we are now with our disagreements and with our problems, we can slowly create such conditions that we render the solution of the existing problems between us in Cyprus, between us and Turkey, between Greece and Turkey, between all the players here, somehow outdated, and they will be solved by the force of things. So let me give you one example. Ergün very rightly mentioned the context of the European-Turkish relationship, which of course is very, very important, and where we have a lot of areas where we can do things and cooperate. For instance, you know, people are talking about the visa liberalization, the modernization of the customs union, the special relationship in the framework of foreign and security and defense policy, or of course, where do we stand with the accession process of Turkey, which seems to go nowhere. So we need to find a way to do something there. And as far as the Cyprus is concerned, that the government of Cyprus is concerned, you know, we are thinking, I mean, I'm not in the government, I don't have anything to do with the way they deal with the issue right now. I'm talking in broader terms, if you like, of you know, how I see things around this. My feeling is that if we can, rather than working on vetoes and preventing the other for doing this and the other from doing that, because just we can do it, which is the bad way of dealing with issues. We can think in terms of a win-win situation where you know, we are going to apply the logic of the European Union throughout the years, which is the logic of more for more. The more you do, the more you receive in exchange. And this creates a situation where you replace the vicious circle of negative developments with a virtuous circle of positive development. And the example I wanted to say is about what are the, if you like, the priorities today and what is the realm of the feasible. We have this issue of the modernization of the customs union between European Union and Turkey. And there, the main outstanding issue is the Ankara Protocol that provides for the extension of the customs union to all member states that joined in 2004. Of course, Turkey, because it does not recognize the Republic of Cyprus, they have not extended this to Cyprus. So, and I am thinking that if we were to have this extension to Cyprus, it unblocks a lot of things. For us, it unblocks mainly the possibility for ships to go to Turkish ports, etc., and questions of airspace, which, I mean, are not linked even to the what happened in 74. It's another story. And for Turkey, it means that we work in the European Union for the modernization of the customs union, and we open up many other domains of cooperation where we can do things together. This is why I was saying we don't have to wait to solve all the problems and all the issues in order to start working together. Because, whether we like it or not, we are on this for so many years. We are trying everything. We are doing whatever we can. And of course, each one of us can stay where we are and not move at all, waiting for something to happen in the future. But in particular, in the energy field, I was myself pleading for, why do we have, for instance, to wait the settlement of the Cyprus problem in order to have a pipeline going to Turkey for the needs of Turkey? Why? Why don't we reverse all those things? And by creating avenues of cooperation, we are making the problem more solvable, because Ergün is right that we need to solve the problem, but we cannot eventually and under the circumstances solve it through the traditional way that, I will have to solve the problem first before we do anything together. This is what I wanted to, if you like, to qualify a little bit in my approach.
Yes, if you want to give an answer there, Ergün Olgun, you can.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. Thank you. I fully agree that there is need for a paradigm shift in the Cyprus issue. I fully agree also with you that we have to find ways of preparing the ground for change in Cyprus, particularly through cooperation projects between the parties concerned, including, of course, Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots. I mean, this is a strategy I think I fully support as well. The thing is to find those areas steadily, without rocking the boat on either side, naturally, to be able to start from, let's say, less critical, less challenging issues, so that we can build on the, let's say, ground we cover slowly to be able to move to more sensitive issues on the issue, in the relations, in the cooperation projects. I fully agree with you on that. I mean, some areas in Cyprus, I think we already have some cooperation ideas that have been discussed between the two sides for cooperation. Between the two former leaders, I mean, not the Turkish Cypriot leader and naturally your current leader previously. I think maybe we can start building on those ideas for cooperation. And we can add to this. I mean, fully agree with you on the energy issue that, for example, we could find ways of, let's say, linking the interconnectivity of the electricity grids with Europe through Turkey, which is a cheaper project, which is an excellent example of cooperation. I fully agree with you that a pipeline naturally could also be another idea to be able to move forward in terms of cooperation and changing the paradigms slowly to be able to move forward on these issues. I think the critical thing here is a change of mentality. I mean, whilst doing those steps, cooperation steps forward, I think there is need also to change the mentality in the relationship. We have to look at the bigger picture, as we discussed earlier on, to be able to understand that we are in the same boat, and we have to be able to, let's say, if you're in the same boat, you do not punish your partner. You do not punish those people on the same boat in which you share the future common destiny. Turkish Cypriots are being punished on this island with embargoes emanating from the Greek Cypriots. How can you hope to develop a positive relationship under those circumstances when Turkish Cypriots' equal rights are being rejected and they are under embargoes? Despite the promises made by the European Union that if the Turkish Cypriots supported the Annan Plan, those embargoes would be lifted. I mean, these are the conditions to which the Turkish Cypriots are subjected, which has to change. I mean, if we are looking for the ideals that you just pointed out, Andreas, we have to make the changes, the mental changes that are essential to be able to build the kind of cooperative relationship that we are talking about. So my suggestion is that I fully agree we're in the same boat, but we have to take up the responsibilities which go along with the fact that we are sharing the same boat. We don't punish our partners. So basically, yes, we share the same ideals, but we are not doing the necessary requirements for the ideals that we are sharing. And that would be my message. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Mustafa Ergün Olgun, for valuable contribution. And unfortunately, we are out of time in the conference. I know that I'm feeling that dear Mavroyiannis want to give an answer, I think.
We will continue the discussion if you like. Naturally, I can meet Andreas and we can do this face to face as well. We don't need an intermediary. We are, as he said, we are 20-year-old friends. So basically,
and our discussion is ongoing, never ends.
Absolutely.
We will not even end with the solution of the Cyprus problem. It will go on.
Yeah, but it should not be perpetual. We should change at one point. I mean,
no, it's perpetual change, but it's one thing to talk about how to solve the Cyprus problem, and it's another thing to talk about how we did solve it.
Anyway, we will continue discussion. We will continue with the discussion. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
I promise you. I think we met again. Maybe 1 hour, 1 month later. If you want, we can do it. And this is very, I think, valuable and useful. Your speech and your giving an answer to it with you. And thank you very much for joining the fourth Eastern Mediterranean Energy Conference and online for the TESMAM. And I would like to thank dear discussion guests, our sponsors, and especially nearest university. And I want to say to thank you for organizing and our TESMAM think tank center. And us to listen to us from the TV Energy viewers and from Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We discuss in especially energy the fourth Eastern Mediterranean Energy Conference in TESMAM. We discuss an energy security in the Eastern Mediterranean and the region of strategic and economic importance in this conference. And thank you again for dear Mavroyiannis and dear Olgun for joining our energy conference.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you soon. All the best.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.